Archaic Records.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Archaic Records here with you again. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. And today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new record 1234 by British post-punk icons Modern English. Modern English formed in Colchester, England in 1979. The band released their first record, Mesh and Lace, in 1981. This newest record, 1234, is the band's 9th studio record. But the first since 2016's Take Me to the Trees. A pretty tough act to follow, I must say. And as far as I'm concerned, this is easily one of the most anticipated records of 2024. One, because it has been 8 years since the band's last release. And two, because I am a huge Modern English fan, and I have been for quite some time. If you ask me, this is easily one of the most underrated bands of the 1980s. Now, you can make the argument, of course, that this band had a huge hit back in the early 80s with their song I Melt With You, a song that I love still to this day, and the song that pretty much marks the beginning of my personal relationship with this band. But that almost makes my argument for me. That song is so huge, and it is so stapled to the side of that band, that song has, at least in my opinion, sort of falsely relegated them as one of those 80s one-hit wonders. But if you go back and you listen to the band's entire catalog, or at least the bulk of their catalog, I think that you will find that this band is one of the most interesting and musically accomplished of their era. This is a band that have put out some of the best records in the sort of post-punk new wave subcategory since their first record in 1981, Mesh and Lace. Now, this newest record, to me, 1234, having listened to it a handful of times this past week, to me, this isn't necessarily their best record, though at this stage of the game, I don't think you necessarily expect any artist to put out their best work. Of course, if you've been following Morrissey and the Bonfire of Teenagers drama over the last several years, Morrissey has promised us that his newest record, Bonfire of Teenagers, is going to be the best of his career. I'm skeptical, though it will be up to the fans at the end of the day, to decide. As long as the new record is as good as I Am Not a Dog on a Chain, I will be perfectly happy. I thought Dog on a Chain was an incredible record. I know a lot of Morrissey fans had sort of a lukewarm kind of attitude about it. I really loved it. As far as this new Modern English record goes, yes, I actually really love this record. No, it isn't necessarily the best in their catalog, and I definitely don't think it's quite as good as 2016's Take Me to the Trees, which is one of my favorite records in the band's catalog, but it is a very solid offering. It is sort of a typical Modern English release in the sense that there really is no such thing as a typical Modern English release. This is a band that has continually evolved and changed over the years. No two records, in my opinion, sound the same. This is a band that never repeats themselves. They never take a record off. They never half-ass any of their releases. So in that sense, this is a very typical Modern English record in that this record stands on its own 2 feet. It has its own identity. And like I said, I do like the record, Take Me to the Trees from 2016, a little bit better than this record. But this is a record that I've been listening to over the past week several times. And it's really started to grow on me. I really love the instrumentation, I should say, on this record. Of course, you can't listen to Modern English without just being completely infatuated with the vocal stylings of singer Robbie Gray, who, at least in my opinion, is one of the best singers of the post-punk era. Like I said, this was a record that to me was one of my most anticipated records of 2024. And I am very happy to say that this record did not disappoint me. in any way. My physical copy, unfortunately, is still in the mail. I was hoping to have it here today to show you as I go through some of these tracks, but it is in the mail. I assure you that I bought this record. I always support these bands that I enjoy. I suggest that you do the same. Anyway, the first song on this record is a song called Long in the Tooth. To me, this is kind of an up-tempo, post-punk kind of feeling song. It has a tremendous vocal performance, again by Robbie Gray. He is one of those singers that just his voice just doesn't really age. And the little aging it does actually complements it as much as it does detracts from it. Now, another band from this sort of era, a band that is in some ways sort of similar to Modern English, is a band Echo and the Bunnymen, one of my favorite bands of all time. And if you go back and if you listen to Ian McCulloch now, his voice has aged a lot. It's changed a lot. Now, some people will give Ian McCulloch grief over the sound of his voice now. I mean, he's got a lot of cartons of cigarettes in that voice that he carries around now. I actually really like Ian McCulloch's voice at this point in time. In fact, I like the line of demarcation between the two different eras of Echo and the Bunnymen, with the 80s sort of Ian McCulloch voice into the 90s and 2000s Ian McCulloch voice. But with Robbie Gray, his voice hasn't changed quite as dramatically. Of course, he doesn't sound quite as young as he did back in the early 1980s. I really like this song. It is relatively self-explanatory just by the title, Long in the Tooth. This is a song basically about getting old, something that unfortunately all of us are experiencing in varying degrees. The next song after that is one of my favorite songs off of this record. It is called Not My Leader. This is sort of a dark kind of mid-tempo post-punk sounding song. I really love the production on this song. I love the instrumental performance. Post-punk is one of my favorite eras of music. If it isn't my favorite genre of music, it's easily in my top 3 or 4. So obviously this is a post-punk band. This is an authentic post-punk band from the early 80s. But anytime in 2023 or 24, you can get a good, authentic post-punk sound, man, I'm all in. I love this song. This song makes me think of this past Tuesday here in Tennessee, Super Tuesday. We had our Tennessee state primary, and it appears as though it's going to be Biden and Trump on the ballot in November. Really sort of makes you feel, not that I'm one of those proud to be / patriotic Americans to begin with, but if this doesn't make you feel just a little bit of shame in this country, I don't know what it takes. Now, I'm somebody who doesn't vote, period. You would never find me wasting my time with such a, meaningless activity. It's funny, sometimes you tell people you don't vote, the side eye they give you when you confess to them that you don't vote. For some reason, some people think it's a real sin not to practice that right. But this current election with Biden and Trump, I mean, if this doesn't make you kind of want to throw up in your mouth a little bit. I mean, I don't like any politicians. That's why I don't vote. That's really why I don't participate. I don't believe that we live in a democracy. I don't believe that we have leaders. I believe, as George Carlin once said, and I'm sort of plagiarizing George Carlin, I want to give credit where it's due. This country doesn't have leaders. It has owners. And the owners of this country are a very exclusive club that you and I most likely do not belong to. But the fact that it's going to be Biden and Trump, and I live down here in Tennessee. Now, Nashville proper isn't really Trump country, but this state down here, unfortunately, is. This past week, with it being election day on this past Tuesday, I've been dealing with a lot of people who've been wanting to talk politics over the past week, and unfortunately, a lot of the people I work with in terms of my clientele tend to be Trumpy. Now, most people, most times of the year, have enough tact not to really talk about politics. This past week, of course, with the primary, it's been the topic du jour. I mean, football season's over down here in Tennessee, so you got to talk about Trump, right? It's either football or Trump. But man, the choice between these two is just absolutely depressing. They had the State of the Union down here, or out here in the United States, this past week too. I did not watch it. Like I said, I am not a political person. I do not participate. But my wife, who loves sending me memes, sent me a couple of Joe Biden highlights from his State of the Union. I mean, come on already. Anybody that defends Joe Biden, or Trump for that matter, or any politician for that matter, I mean, I just simply cannot relate to. I love this song. I love the message of it. That's my interpretation of it right now, being American, living in this election year 2024 with these two just horrendous candidates. And I say that as somebody who doesn't like any politicians. But these two, are you kidding me? I feel like Moe. I want to clunk their heads together. The next song after that is a song called Not Fake. Sort of another kind of mid-tempo, post-punk style song. This one's a little bit clankier. It's a little bit edgier. I actually really like this song instrumentally, probably even more than Not My Leader, which is one of my favorite instrumental songs on the record. To me, this song is kind of about, feeling sentimental, for things that are tangible, kind of a love song towards, the physical world, kind of breaking away from the virtual world. This song also talks a lot about having, a strong relationship with nature. This is something that I find very relatable in my daily life. Now, I spend as much time online as anybody else. I'm no better than anybody else. I'm not going to stand on my soapbox and throw rocks at people who are, doom scrolling. But I am somebody who, I did not grow up on the internet. I grew up in the 1980s. This is all still sort of new to me in a way. It's not something I'm native to. I've talked about this before. I'm a Gen Xer. My wife is, a millennial. And so for her, she grew up a lot more online than I did. For her, it's a lot more native. For me, some of this stuff still kind of weirds me out. I've talked about this on a video the other day. She was doing some stuff kind of tinkering around with AI, and she was sort of fascinated with it. And to be honest with you, it kind of gave me the chills a little bit. But to me, I really love that song. I love the message of that song. It's one of my favorite songs on the record. Really, like I said at the beginning, I don't necessarily think that this is the band's best record, but I really love most of it. I don't think there's very much clunkage on it. And for, like I said, a band that's been around for, over 40 years, for them to be pumping out a record of this quality is, it's nothing to sneeze at, in my opinion. I really think that this record is quite an accomplishment. I do like Take Me to the Trees, just like a little more, though, gonna be honest. The next song after that is a song called Exploding. This has kind of a spacey, dark, kind of psychedelic feeling. Like I mentioned earlier, throughout Modern English's career, they've never repeated themselves. There's no two albums in their catalog, at least in my opinion, that sound the same. And I've been listening to this band, and I own every one of their records, including the new one, which hasn't arrived here yet. But I would say that this is a band, they never repeat themselves. They're always adding to the recipe. They're adding this spice. They're subtracting this ingredient. And even within the records themselves, there's a lot of diversity. This song sounds completely different than anything else on the record. Like I said, it's sort of dark and spacey, sort of neo-psychedelic. Really cool effect on Robbie Gray's voice. I think this song is about being manipulated by the fear of your own mortality and our collective obsession with safety, whatever that means, and how we're willing to give up pieces of ourselves in order to purchase this sort of false sense of security. I saw a book in a bookstore a while back. I didn't buy it, but I did see a book. And the premise of the book was basically about at least life in America post 9/11. And I was reading the back of the book, It was sort of a conspiracy book, honestly, and I'm not a big conspiracist, but I did find it interesting. And the book talked about how the book basically starts at 9/11 and it works its way up to basically today, or at least when the book came out. And it basically talks about, the little things that Americans have given up over the past, 20 years. This was written post-COVID, because I do remember talking about COVID on the back of the book. But it talks about Americans, obsession, and he dates it back to at least 9/11. Our obsession with safety and this sort of false sense of security. And the reality of the situation is, like, you're never safe. You could walk out right now. I have to run out later today and go do some things, and I could never come home again. I could end up dying in a car accident like today. But we have this like obsession with feeling safe and this like false sense of security, so much so that we're willing to give up pieces of ourselves and our civil liberties and our freedoms. And I was not a big COVID denier, nor was I a big COVID phobe. But if you look back on it now, it seems like a long time ago now. But you look at what people were willing to give up for a little bit of security. It actually is quite scary. At least that's my interpretation of this song. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is what this song is about, but it's definitely my interpretation of it. I love the message in this song, and instrumentally, this is one of my favorite songs on the record. The next song after that is a song called Plastic. To me, this song sounds the most like modern English in the 80s. And again, that's sort of a broad description, because this band has changed so much album to album, song to song. But to me, this is a song that sounds the most like they did in the 1980s, if that makes any sense. Mix that with a little bit of like Blur, and this is what this song sounds like. Great vocal performance. I do really like the song Plastic as well. The next song after that is a song called Crazy Lovers. Another song I really like. This song has a very... I use the term 80s sort of generically here. This has a very 80s sound, if 80s is a genre. To me, this has a very 80s sound mixed with a little bit of maybe like the Plimsouls. I'm a person that can be found, always listening to that sound. Whether it's 80s, indie, post-punk. I mean, this is something... This song is like right in my wheelhouse as far as all of the genres of music I like. It's got a little bit of a punkiness to it too. I really like the song Crazy Lovers. The next song after that is a song called I Know Your Soul. This song to me sounds a little bit like Ocean Blue. Another great vocal performance by Robbie Gray. To me, this song is like the ultimate soulmate song. I have a playlist on my Spotify account for my wife, and I'm always sort of adding songs to it, and I recently added this song to it. This is a song that really does a pretty good job of sort of describing the way I feel about my wife. I think if there's somebody in your life that is your eternal partner in slime, that one person you can't imagine living without, the person you know better than anybody else in the world, the person that knows you better than you know yourself, this is a song that you will easily be able to relate to. I love this song. This is one of my favorite songs on the record, and at the risk of sounding sappy, any song which makes me think of my wife and reminds me of our relationship is a song that I am going to be a huge fan of. The next song after that is a song called Genius. This song is sort of down-tempo, a little bit spacey, again, a little bit sort of post-punk psychedelic. Now, this might be a stretch, but I was thinking about this song as I was reading the lyrics, and to me, I think this song is about Lou Reed. For two reasons. One, it's got, like I said, it's got like a down-tempo, spacey, sort of neo-psychedelic, almost Velvet Underground type sound. The song is called Genius. Lyrically, the song talks about how we miss this person's genius. And in the lyrics of the song, he says, bright white light. as in white light, white heat. Now, I'm not sure, maybe that's a big stretch. I'm not assigning it to this song, but to me, this song is about Lou Reed. And, of course, I'm a huge Lou Reed fan. I'm a huge Velvet Underground fan. If you aren't a fan of the Velvet Underground, I don't know what in the hell you hear when you listen to their music. I really love this song. This is probably one of my favorite songs on the record. To me, this song has kind of a modern English meets Velvet Underground type of feel to it. I really love it. The next song after that is a song called Out to Lunch. This song, it sounds like it was just ripped right out of like 1984. Great vocal performance. I would say lyrically it is fairly self-explanatory. As much as I love 1984 and a lot of music from 1984, I don't know that this is necessarily my my favorite song on the record. I don't really think I have a weakest song on the record. I really don't think that this song, or I should say this record, has anything that's really weak on it. But this isn't necessarily my favorite song. Like I said, it does sound like very 1984. And, Robbie Gray's voice on this entire record is just ultra snug. It's, one of my favorite, aspects of the entire catalog of modern English is I've always been such a huge fan of Robbie Gray's vocals. The last song on this record is a very sort of eerie, dark song. Great song to close out the record. A song called Voices. Instrumentally, this is probably my favorite song on the record. This might actually be my favorite song on the record. To me, I interpret this song as sort of looking inside the head and the mental condition, I guess, of the mental health condition of a mass shooter. Perhaps that is just because I live in America in 2024, that's the place that my head goes when I hear this song. But that's how I interpret this song. This song is dark. It's a little bit depressing, but it's a great way to end this record. And to me, obviously it may be another 8 years until this band puts out its next record, but ending the record on this song, which I think is probably the best song on the record, just already has me, anxiously awaiting their next record, which, hey, if I have to wait 8 years for more quality modern English music like this, I'm game, man. I may have had plans of dying between now and then, but hey, this record might, if the next record picks up where this one left off, I might hang out for a while. Who knows? I do love this song. Like I said, I think it's probably the best song on the record, which I think is very solid. I think that this is an excellent record. I cannot wait to get my grubby mitts on my physical copy. Hopefully tomorrow, hopefully Monday, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Sunday. Hopefully Monday. I ordered it quite a while ago, I must say. I was hoping to have it in time to do today's video, but alas, I'm sure it will be here soon. If you are looking for a very quality record by an established legacy band, which is something I'm always looking for, I would definitely check out this record. 1, 2, 3, 4 by Modern English. It is not their best record, but this band's catalog is so exquisite, in my opinion, that this thing fits right in there. I think that this, as of right now, and it's early in the year, as of right now, this is probably my favorite record so far of 2024. I don't know that it will end there. Of course, it's only March. But so far, I really love this record. I think it's something that you should go out and check out. If you're a fan of modern English, if you understand the complexities and the vastness of not only their catalog, but their musical stylings, I think that this is something that will not disappoint you. I could not wait for this record to come out. I've listened to it a handful of times this week, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I can assure you of that. Anyway, man, thank you so much for checking out this video. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. Be sure to check out your local record store. Be sure to check back every week for Morrissey Monday. a weekly celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths, as well as other record content throughout the week. And do me one favor, and just remember that your relationship with music is a two-way street. Yes, it is up to the bands and the artists to continue to put out solid music to keep the scene moving forward, but it is our responsibility as fans to support those bands. So if you go back and you check out this record and you enjoy it, be sure to buy a CD, a record, a t-shirt, or support this band if they happen to come to your town. Now, I understand that, things are tough, money is tight, the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to, but it is important. I think it's important. I think you should think it's important as well. Anyway, until next time, my friends, I'll talk to you then.